All right, here we go. OverDrive, off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app. Your home smart speaker up on TSN 4. Bryan Hayes, Doug, Jeff O'Neill, Jamie Noodles McLennan. How we feeling on a Wednesday afternoon?
I'll tell you one thing. The Jays stink. How about that?
A little bit of concern.
It's not good.
A little bit of concern. Yeah, that's an awful start to the series. I mean, the biggest series of the season, and
sometimes I do
the hole already.
I do the turn off because of just lack of jam. I'm like, this feels like Grapefruit League. Like there was nothing. There was no jam. There was nothing to that game.
No life whatsoever. And sometimes you got to credit the opposition. Texas has been awful for about 6 weeks. And they showed up. Scherzer was humming until something happened with his arm.
I know. That's where I thought the TSN turning point. Scherzer,
exactly.
He starts reaching at his arm and his shoulder, and all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, the Jays can take. He's out.
Yes.
And he was rolling. And
he was absolutely dominating. And he's talking afterwards like, I'm going to need an MRI. And the Canadian in me is like, well, whose spot are you going to take? Like, there's a lot of people in Toronto that want those MRIs. You got to wait a long time to get an MRI in Toronto.
The Canadian in you.
Is Scherzer going to step in line and think he can pick up an MRI spot? I've had to go for an MRI at like 2 in the morning. Right? Yeah. You need an MRI. You got to get up and go whenever it's available. You're going to be there.
Me.
He
I've
had
been
one
the
before
guy
he got on the plane last night.
Probably.
Where you're sitting in the robe, and then all of a sudden a pro athlete walks by you, and you're like, I guess he's going now.
Yeah, I've heard through the grapevine. I got a buddy who's locked in on one of the big hospitals downtown, and somehow he'll send me a message every once in a while. Just saw a guy. I'm like, how'd he get in there so quick? Game's still going on. He's already there?
I was just going to say, remember that if Austin Matthews ever gets a shot on the foot in the penalty kill or something. Oh, no, you got to wait your turn.
Gotta wait your turn.
Or 6 weeks from now.
Got to wait your turn, right? Gary from Port Colborne, he's coming down, and he's got something locked in. So, sorry, Max. Not our concern. But, it's been an awful start to the series. And now, technically, the Jays are on the outside looking in. They got the same record as Texas, but now they've thrown away a tiebreak as well. So if it gets to a point where you're talking tie breaks, the Blue Jays are in trouble. And now you're really – it's not like you're hoping for a miracle. It's not like they can't win the next 2 games. Obviously they can. And if you walk out of here with 2 of 4, then you're in a pretty good spot still. You're still statistically in a good spot. But the 2 guys who stick out, and it's obviously a team game, but it's Bo Bichette and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Bichette is banged up, you can tell. You can tell his approach at the plate. He's just trying to make contact and almost get out of the box. Like, he's running like Jake Taylor. He's just trying to get to first and then back to the dugout. And Bichette is 0 for 8 in the series, 0 for 4 last night. He hasn't struck out yet, though, right? He's trying to do something. Vladdy is 0 for 8 in the series, 4 strikeouts, and is awful right now. And these are the biggest moments of the year, biggest players on the team. Because you look at the rest of the lineup, like if you weren't paying attention to what was going on here and you just simply looked at a box score after the game, you'd be like, who is Spencer Horwitz? Who is Davis Schneider? Who is Ernie Clement? Like, who are these guys? The team revolves around Springer, Bichette, and Guerrero. And Bo and Vladdy they're in a terrible place right now. Terrible place.
Well, they got to play better. Like, it's just...
And what do you do with Vladdy? It's not like I think he's hitting in the 3-hole again today.
Yes.
It's like, I mean, where else do you put him? Are you going to just say, you know what, you stink right now? I don't know what else you do with the guy.
At this point, it's September 13th. They are just going to ride it out and hope he wakes up. Like, that's what you're going to do, because the only way it's going to work for this team. Forget making the playoffs and backdooring into the playoffs. We were joking about that yesterday. That's what it looks like. They're going to hopefully backdoor in with like 88 wins. The only way you could possibly feel like this team could win a wild card, win a DS, win a CS, miraculously get to a World Series is if Vlad Guerrero Jr. performs like a superstar, right? So you can move him down the lineup all you want. You can't be thinking you're going to go anywhere with Spencer Horwitz batting cleanup and dragging you there. David Schneider hit another home run last night. The guy's been amazing. At some point, that bubble's going to pop, and he's going to run into a dark place, right? That's baseball. That happens. He's a young guy. The only chance they have, much like another team we talk about in this town all the time, the best players have got to be the best players. Like, sports is pretty simple when you break it down to that extent. If your best players are not your best players, you can't win.
That's your thing. Simple. Like, that's what you're throwing at the opposition. Oh, can you handle this when they're all dialed in? Like, that's the whole idea. And when they're not close and they are injury riddled, I mean, you're looking at the lineup and you're like, well, maybe that's just kind of what this group of guys is with all the call-ups and stuff. But when they're going up there, and Vladdy is just he's a disaster right now.
He's got nothing.
He has got nothing. He's Serrano right now. It's like he can't hit the curveball.
He's killing him. He gets up to the plate, and it's an auto out. And you're lucky. You're almost happy if he doesn't hit into a double play. You know, if there's no one on first, you're like, all right, at least this will only be one out. Like, just concede.
Didn't he set the record for double plays?
For hitting into double plays? I think he has, yes. I think he might.
Which isn't a record you want. I mean, you know, I'm not trying to pile on the guy, but I believe, like, I thought I read that he set the record.
He's top 5 in the major leagues, if not top 3. That has been consistent all year. I think he's hit into like 20 or 21 double plays. It's crazy.
He's got to be better. The bottom line is you got to be better. You got an opportunity to go 500 on this homestand here, but you got to find something tonight. Who's pitching tonight?
You got Kikuchi on the mound, your boy.
All right, that's your guy. That's your guy.
I feel good about Kikuchi. I really do. I feel very good about Kikuchi tonight. Wow. I think they have a bounce back and perform. They're going to win one of the next 2 games, but I'm not going to sit here and guarantee they win both.
Well, they got to find something because, you know, you don't want to just squeak in. You got to feel good about your game, but. Right now, you're right. You look at the roster outside of the 3 you talked about with Bo and Springer and Vladdy. It's thin, right? Like it's thinner.
It is, Noodles.
Some of the names are unrecognizable for me. You know, like it's tough, right?
And yet those guys are supplying. Like those guys, it's almost like if it weren't for David Schneider, if it weren't for Spencer Horwitz, if it weren't for like Ernie Clement and defensively what he's supplying, he's been very, very good. You know, these are guys who were not on the radar, and now they're showing up, and they're supplying something. Biggio's been very good recently. Like, Kevin Biggio has been red hot. Like, he is supplying a lot at the plate. And
did I read he's coming out of the lineup?
I haven't seen the lineup card for tonight. It wouldn't shock me the way the Jays operate, because it doesn't even matter if you're red hot. What matters is our book says against Montgomery on the mound, like it's infuriating the way that this team operates. And that's not John Schneider. Schneider's got to go out there and answer for it. But it's the front office. It's the analytics department, right? We had these conversations when Schneider was coming out of the lineup, and he was, the hottest hitter in baseball, and David Schneider sitting on the bench. And they're like, well, the analytics would suggest that maybe great, guys. Maybe you want to actually put in someone that's red hot because you're trying to win a ball game. Okay. I don't know. Where's that? What chapter is that in the analytics rule book? That some guy who's hot in a big game, maybe you want him in the lineup. Possibly. Yeah. Call me crazy. But Schneider will have to come out and answer for it. I guess he was on.
JP just got in my ear and said Biggio out of the lineup.
Biggio out of the lineup tonight.
They're resting him. He's tired.
Yeah, give him a break.
Numbers say rest him.
Yeah, numbers say on September 14th he should have a rest.
You know, one guy, and I feel like I pile on him all the time, like Alejandro Kirk.
Yeah.
Like, this guy is – no, but, like – is he a guy that is supposed to be reliable every night? Well, that's what I mean.
Gabriel Marino's in Arizona because Alejandro Kirk was an all-star last year. That's what happened. I mean. They kept Kirk over Marino, and the rest is history.
Oh, man, he's got to be a lot better. But
yes, he does. And we'll see. We'll see what he and the squad bring to the table tonight. Again, Game 3 of a 4-game series. Jays-Rangers tonight. Kikuchi, Montgomery. Yeah, it's going to be icy. And, again, not a huge crowd, not a lot of life in the stadium. And I'll tell you what, you lose tonight, it's going to suck the life out of that place. And, like, if they get swept, again, I don't think they will. I think they'll win at least one of the next 2. If the Rangers take 4 here, this will be a death march out of the Rogers Center tomorrow night. It'll just be the suction of energy like you've never seen.
I just don't get it because – like, you think of a baseball market, and I'd like to think of Toronto as that.
Yes.
Yeah,
and I don't care if it's a Monday or Tuesday. Like, Phillies, Yankees, Red Sox, they don't use Monday or Tuesday as an excuse. And please don't come at me and say I didn't see you down at the ballpark. I have a job until 7 o'clock, and I have other things to do. I can't get there. But it's like, how does that happen? I don't know. It's just it's a totally weird vibe.
It is weird.
Around the whole thing.
Yeah.
The building not being packed, the way they're playing, it's just like the air came out of everything at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. It's like this weird kind of collision of both. You know, the team is – they flatlined the last 2 nights. I mean, they did. They swept Kansas City over the weekend. They took 4 of 6, through Oakland and Colorado. So, they've still been winning ball games. I think they're 6-4 in their last 10. It's not like they're just getting destroyed and they're putting up the white flag. They're not. But, this team's been frustrating all year. I think there's a lot of Jays fans who are reluctant to truly believe they're going to do anything. And I don't know. September, I guess, it's just a different time of year. It was cold this morning. Rookie camps are here. The rookies are in town for the Leafs. The NFL is back. It's it felt like a hockey start to the season type morning this morning, and it is for me this weekend. I know your boys had some tryouts this week, Nunos. I got my girls on the ice Saturday, Sunday, 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m. Oh, that's waiting for me on the weekend. So,
did you not say to the coach let's talk about 10 a.m.?
Well, you don't. When you're that young, you just get the league gives the young kids the ice because I guarantee you the parents are like, those kids wake up at 6 a.m. anyways because they're 6 years old and 5 years old and all of that. So it's like you guys are getting the early one. Yeah, there's my son's got tryouts tonight, tryouts tomorrow, and it's a lot of hockey involved.
So 7 a.m. on ice. That means you're getting the whole crew up at 5.
No, not at 5. Dude, they're not playing at the Gardens. Like it's down the street.
They wake up at 5:52.
There's no pregame.
I get it, but I'm just thinking like planning, like to have something to eat and chill out, coffee. Like, doesn't the whole operation got to get up at 5?
No, there's no chill out, dude. It's bedlam. It's alarms going off.
So it's literally like sleep in your hockey stuff and roll out of bed and get in the car and you're going to hockey?
More or less. It'll be like a 6:10 wake up, out the door at 6:25, there at 6:40, on the ice at 7. That's probably going to be the routine. And it'll be a disaster. It'll be an absolute disaster, but we're going to have fun. Right, it's going to be one of those things where all hell is going to break loose, and then afterwards it'll be, you have fun? Yeah, it was great. Okay, we'll try that again tomorrow.
As you're driving through the Tim Hortons at 8:15 in a big lineup because everybody's cold and miserable, and they want a hot chocolate and whatever breakfast you can order. But
rinks are popping, man. It's go time. You're into mid-September. The rinks are alive. Again, the Leaf rookies are here. Matthew Knies was speaking about wanting to be a part of the big club and playing with the big players, which I'm curious how you interpreted that. Why don't we play this? Knies was speaking with the media earlier today. Again, he's in town. He's at the rookie camp, which I think he should be. Right? He's a rookie. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He got called up for a few games in the regular season and some playoff games. He is still a rookie. And here's what Matthew Knies had to say earlier today about what he's pursuing in camp and going into this season.
I want to play with the big players. I want to play with the big club, and I'm just going to work my best to play there.
So big players. Do you think he's calling a shot like Matthews, Tavares? Those are the lines I'm pursuing, or is it just a figure of speech like I want to be on
I think that's a figure. I mean, it's probably, you could take it twofold. You want to play with the big players, meaning the NHL players, the everyday. Want to play with, it's always said, play with the big club. Play with the big club, but also it could have a layer as like, I'd like to ride shotgun with 34 because that's top 6, top line type of minutes. So you could take that two different ways, but I took that a lot of times, when you're at rookie camp or you're talking to rookies, it's like, I'd like to play with the big club. I want to play with the big guys. And that's NHL players. That's being on the NHL team. And he's going to make the team, but it's no guarantee right out of the gates he's, placed in any situation. He's still got to go earn it in preseason.
Absolutely he does. Yeah.
I would have thought last year would have given me the opportunity to possibly, this would have been my thinking back in that day. Me coming up and playing in the playoffs and being a solid player would allow me to bypass the rookie camp and let me hang with the big dogs, because that's kind of what you're thinking. You're like, I got to go in there, and I am a rookie, and this is almost a formality, but I'm going to go be the hardest worker. That's the approach you have to have. But in my head, because I didn't partake in rookie camps, I don't know why, but I didn't. I just would have thought, you know what, maybe it's just big boy time now. Maybe I'm not doing that. But you have to go there and be the best player, be the hardest working guy, and do all that stuff, and then you get to go play with the big boys, and you'll probably be on a line with Austin Matthews or John Tavares in training camp, and you will feel like a big boy. But for now, you got to go through the grind.
Yeah,
part of the
process. The worst thing he can do is be a hero at the rookie camp, like act like he's above anybody else.
I'll tell you what he's got though.
Work hard.
He's got hockey head. He looks like a player. He's got a big giant hockey head. The nose, the eyes, that's a hockey player.
He's got a bit of a mullet, too. We were talking about that yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a hockey head. Eric Lindros hockey head.
He does.
It's a positive sign.
I think Noodles is right, though. Hockey head.
Hazy,
like
you know what a hockey
bison?
head is.
Yeah,
well, what?
I know
Like
what
a
you're
square?
Like
hockey
it's
head?
just, I don't know. It's just a hockey head. Like if you put up a picture of Eric Lindros without a helmet, like that is hockey head. Big, giant head. Sunken eyes, jawline.
Sunken eyes. Do you know how many helmets that trainer in Oshawa probably had to run through before they found one for Lindros?
Dude, you know how many helmets on the opposition that had to be repaired from that guy drilling him through the boards?
Well, that's what I mean. You're saying hockey had Eric Lindros. I don't know if Knies falls into that stature.
Like, you have a goalie pea head. You don't have like
goalie pea head. My head is the same size.
I know, but Hazy, you know what I mean by a hockey head, right? Like
yeah,
it's just a big, giant hockey head.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
No, there's players that I played with that had giant heads. That Sean Hill, our buddy Sean Hill. There's a hockey head.
That's a hockey head.
You Google Sean Hill's image, he looks like a hockey player. But there's what about ugly face? Is that a hockey head?
That's
right
a hockey
there.
Head. That is in the dictionary as hockey head.
That's a scary human being right there. That was.
Oh my God, is that frightening?
He looks like he's got his chin strap. It's not even done up, and the play is on. That might not even be a warm up.
He wouldn't.
That might be like mid-second.
It wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered. He would have just, if they would tell the ref to shut up and leave him alone, and just go kill somebody.
Exactly. Like the ref would be like, "Could you do me a favor?" No, okay, that's no problem. All right, we ready? Let's drop the puck here, boys. Let's see.
I'll never forget that guy. I didn't know him at the time. I just kind of knew him through Muskoka, and I got put on a line with Brendan Shanahan and Nelson Emerson, and the Legion of Doom line, the Doom line, hops over the boards in Hartford. And I'm just like, okay, let's try to win the draw. And he looks at Shanny and says, tell 22 if he touches me again, I'm going to kill him. And I was like, oh, my God. And then I went into the face-off, and the guy's stick strength, it was just like it was insane. It was insane what that guy did on the ice. But that's what came out of his mouth. He said to Shanny, I forget who it was, but he said, tell him if he touches me again, I'm going to kill him. And I'm like, okay, this guy's in a good mood right now.
See, Shanny has a hockey head. Brendan Shanahan has a hockey head.
Shanahan has a hockey head.
Right? But I'm thinking about it. There's other guys that don't have hockey heads that were really good players.
Oh, yeah. Slender guys like that just aren't like the typical, prototypical looking hockey guy. Yeah.
Johnny Gaudreau doesn't have a hockey head.
No.
Right?
Like Mitch Marner wouldn't either. Like guys who kind of look younger. We're talking about generally guys who look like bigger, massive human beings.
Alex Ovechkin has a hockey head.
Yes.
Like that's
Ovechkin
like Ovi.
Does.
Ovi's got the nose.
Chris Chelios has.
Yes, has a hockey head. Here's a hockey head for you. Brett Hull. Yeah. Brett Hull. Brett Hull.
Yes, Brett Hull definitely did.
Like with his
Rod
golden
Brindamore.
Locks and his beak. Yeah, Rod Brindamore.
Yeah, we could come up with a long list of it.
Oh, there is some
who
like
defines it.
Played like Jeff Odgers and like Rudy Postchek. Those were hockey heads.
Massive. Ty Domi's massive. He had a massive head, Ty. Yeah. There'd be a long list of different guys you could probably, conclude as fitting the description of having a hockey head.
I love that term, Hockey head.
And Knies would be one of them. But, I think...
Look at this. Ken Danico. Oh, my God. In a Cooper bucket. If that is not a hockey head, I have no idea. That's in the Hockey Head Hall of Fame.
Yeah, there's got to be.
Cooper helmet, man. That helmet looks like the alien the Mexicans revealed today. Did you see that? What
that was
the
ridiculous.
Mexican government was revealing today. They've had aliens the whole time, and now they're showing the world. And that Cooper helmet, man, is that an old school look? You don't see those helmets anymore.
Mess with the Cooper helmet on. He had a hockey head.
Yeah,
that meant you policed the blue line and you meant business. If you
we
wore
need
that
a top 10 hockey heads of all time, like the recency bias.
Grappler and Joe from the Bridge at the end of the show try to put together a top 10.
Yeah,
try to put together a top 10. That Kenny Danico with that tight Cooper bucket on. That guy was frightening, man.
Yeah. Kenny sounds frightening too, man.
Scott Stevens had a hockey head too. Big square, jaw, all of that.
Bobby Holik. Bobby Holik had a squash.
Oh, my God. If you put Bobby Holik's Sasquatch head up there in that tight CCM bucket, oh, my God. You could cross-check Bobby Holik over the top of the head and he would not feel one thing.
Yeah.
I played with Bobby. He was a very unique character. The only thing that stood out for me playing with him is he used to eat fruit like the whole. Like he would eat an apple, he'd eat the core and everything.
Doesn't
which
surprise
was
me
He's
at
a
all.
monster.
Like a horse.
Yeah.
Like just like
He's
like
a
literally
monster from the Muppets. He just look at this guy. Give me the whole fruit. I'm going to eat the whole thing.
He would eat the whole, and he would eat like 8 apples, like not just one. He would eat like a pound of fruit. It was, but like I was like, where's the core and the stem? And he just like swallowed.
Where's my bushel of apples? Over there, Bobby.
It was insanity.
Yeah, that
but anyways, he was
wild. Yeah, it seems like it was something about the 90s too, right? Like your era had some. Like Dale Hunter clearly, right? The Hunter
Dale
brothers.
Hunter was like 5'8", but his head was
heads wheeling around there.
There was one guy. I don't know if you can find
Look at this guy. That guy will headbutt you and break your face.
Bobby Holik.
There was one guy I played with a little bit, Jim McKenzie. I don't know if you remember the tough guy, Jimmy.
Like Jimmy Mack.
Yeah,
Jimmy Mack was.
He had a hockey head.
Yeah, there's a lot of them, man. Man, there's guys sending in helmets like.
I've got one closer to home. Rob Ray.
Yes.
Rob Ray had
Robbie Ray.
Yep. Rob
He's
Ray.
in the Hall of Fame. He's top 10.
Yeah.
Here's one for you. Garth Butcher.
Oh, my word. Garthy Butcher.
Garth Butcher's whole head package was wild.
I think he had a thin little cookie duster, too. Like, and he trimmed it up. Look at Garthy meant business.
Yes,
Look at him.
Look at that mullet and a tight chin strap.
Oh, Garth Butcher was so mean. Garth Butcher was as mean as they came.
He looked
He's a miserable bastard, man.
I think he was on the ice when Wendell hit Bruce Bell. I feel like either the Wendell Bruce Bell hit or when Wendell got John Casey. Remember when he hit him with the Coco Bonk, the Great Harry Neal call?
Is that Jimmy Kite? Is that Jimmy Kite with a black eye?
I think that's Garth Butcher.
That's Garth Butcher. He played in Vancouver.
Look at that face. Look at Garth Butcher.
He was grizzled.
That guy will terrorize you in the corner.
Jeff Odgers was another one. Odgie was a very scary human being.
Darian Hatcher.
Oh, you throw a Hatcher in a Cooper helmet?
Yeah.
Like a Bauer New Age helmet. They had a Sasquatch head.
Yeah. The Hatchers were massive human beings. Massive.
Yes, they were.
And just so angry all the time. Specifically, I would say Darren. No, was it? Yeah,
Darian.
Kevin, not Darren. Darian was
in Dallas
Kevin,
more, right? Kevin was in Pittsburgh and Washington more. Darian was the captain of the Stars, right? He was more nasty, I think, than Kevin.
He was a nasty piece of business.
Yeah. Certainly was. All right, Jays Rangers tonight. We'll continue to look ahead to that. More on the Matthew Knies commentary. The NHL circuit continues down in Vegas. We've got a big show today. Steve Phillips will join us. Role play level of concern in about an hour. We're playing role play today.
Top 10 hockey heads coming up.
And we will continue to track the top 10 hockey heads. Feel free to send us a tweet at OverDrive 1050, at Hayes TSN. Send in pictures, too. That's probably the best way to go.
How about this one? Tony Twist.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I played with Twister.
You know Twister. Tony Twist.
That team was tough. I told you, Rudy Postcheck, Tony Twist, and Kelly Chase. Mm-hmm. That's 3 hockey heads that were terrifying.
Man,
terrifying people.
Crazy ones coming in here. Like crazy pictures coming in. So
look at Twister. Oh, my God.
Imagine fighting that guy.
That guy threatened to kill me, and I was scared for my life.
Yeah.
He sat beside me for 3 years in St. Louis. Unbelievable guy, but like killer.
Scary
literally
stuff.
A killer. Yeah,
looking
scary human.
Hurt people.
Yeah.
If he would prefer to lay a beating on you, if he could.
Exactly.
Roman Polak Polak would be in there. Anyway, we'll keep tracking these all afternoon at OverDrive 1050. Yeah. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
Back to OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
OverDrive continues, brought to you by Fando, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Steve Phillips will join us in about a half an hour on what's up with Vladdy, what's up with Bichette, what he'd do with the lineup going into the game tonight. Role play level of concern in about an hour. And Darren Dreger making his return. We haven't caught up with Dregs in a while. And,
nice.
We'll see, what's going on league-wide. Obviously, the Mike Babcock story it's died down today, and it's going to continue to die down until someone else, says something or something else comes out of the team. But day one of camp will be interesting in Columbus, man. All eyes are going to be on Mike Babcock. You knew it was coming.
Yeah.
Like when he returned, because of who he is, what he's done throughout his career, and now he's back. Even though it's a small market, the national media, they don't focus on Columbus too often. They're going to be focusing. Not because of Gaudreau, not because of Laine, not because of Fantilli making his debut.
I've been thinking about it. And regardless, I'm not going to sling mud and say take down Babs, but any way you slice what came out yesterday, it's goofy and it's bizarre. For that type of practice to try to get to – I've never heard somebody saying, let's get to know each other, and this is how we're going to go about it. That way of going about it, I've never heard anyone in any walk of life do that, and it's just any way you want to slice it, however you want to – it's goofy and it's bizarre. There's no other way around that.
And now it's out there. Right now it's public, and he'll continue to be asked about it until, I don't know, you get to the games or you get to some preseason action. But
until the next storyline. But you're right.
Until something else pops up league-wide, yeah.
But we all knew that the eyes were going to be on him anyways coming back this season. It's not – it's a weird story, right, And it's just something that, you hope – I more hope for the guys in Columbus, the players, just put it behind and go play because they've had a rough couple of years there. Let's be honest.
Oh, yeah.
It's been a rough ride. So you're trying to get to the ice, and then you get all these distractions, and all eyes won't be on Gaudreau or Laine or Werenski. It's on Mike and what he does as a coach. So be interesting to see, but it's certainly a distraction, and we're 2 weeks away from camp still.
Well, and listen, Mike Babcock is wired to. He's been a winner his whole career. He's done a lot of great things with big programs, right? In Detroit, in Toronto, yes, it flamed out at the end, but he got them to the playoffs for the first time in a long time. He was the head coach in 2010, head coach in 2014 of the Canadian national teams. He is going to try to stick it to everyone league-wide. He is going to put in a he's never been short on effort or detail. He's never had a reputation of being a guy that doesn't comb over every game tape and have a game plan for everything. Anyone that's played for him has suggested that I've spoken to. Putting the other stuff aside about who he is, how he treats people, you talk to people that have played for him, they're like, this guy can flat out coach, man. He is a really good coach.
That is the truth. But
it's
I thought Frank Corrado summed it up perfectly when he said, Like, this guy, what he is the ultimate grin screwer. He's Colin Montgomery behind an NHL bench. He doesn't care about your kid. He's just like, how you doing? No, he doesn't care.
Monty getting shrapnel on a Babcock.
He is the Wayne Gretzky of grin screwing. How you doing? No, you don't care about the kid, whatever.
Monty.
It's
so funny.
Like, it's so ridiculous for him to think that you actually – it's not possible. Like, we care about each other. We work with each other. We're really good friends. But when on a team like that, it's like, hey, great to see. You don't really care in depth that much. Oh, let me see the family. No, what?
Well,
what are you talking about? It's ridiculous.
Frankie, though, is an example. Who's also said the guy's a great coach. Like, when
that
you get
is
to the
undeniable.
game, he's a great coach, and that's the point I'm making here. Is that I don't know how long he's going to get in Columbus if stuff keeps popping up and all eyes are on him, and there's a large portion of the hockey world that's like, we got our eyes on you, man. Let's see what you got here.
That is the amazing thing about it. How the guy was supposed to be starting fresh, and for him to think that this avenue down to try to get to know people would be somewhat normal. It's just bizarre. It is absolutely bizarre. Well, and trust me, you two and me, we're not the only ones that think like that. It's everyone I've talked to today, all around the league, all different levels down the chain, think it's crazy stuff.
But it's consistent with the way he's generally operated through his career, I guess. And that he would, I can't.
Well, then maybe that's where lies the problem. Now.
Yeah, sure.
Well, but my philosophy with this.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Brian. Sorry. Well, I was just going to say my philosophy, but sorry to interrupt. My philosophy with this is, if it wasn't Mike Babcock, if this was a different coach, how much would we be talking about this? You know what I mean?
Right, but it is Mike Babcock, and that's you're right, Noodles. If it was Joe Blow in a different market, it probably would come up. You'd say, "Wow, that's strange." People would, I think, have a similar reaction to whether or not they feel like it's a silly practice, right? But like Babcock has earned his reputation and has he has put himself in the eye of the storm, countless times throughout his career with the way he interacts with players. And even other people. But I think this guy is going to be determined to put on a coaching clinic is what I'm trying to get to here. Forget all the other stuff. If this guy's behind the bench and Columbus is victorious and they make the playoffs like you believe they will, this guy, Babcock, could be doing a dance on a lot I
will goofy as this is, I might have to revisit. I might have to revisit them making the playoffs, unless there was a 500 put on it.
Yeah, there absolutely was. That's been well documented.
Okay, I'll just ignore the fact that Babs is the coach, and I'll stick with the Jackets getting into
You're going to have to. Yeah, that's your team. Yeah. You're on board with them.
It's not my team. Guy. This happened at the Canadian Open, where you were once again. You were crap-talking the Columbus Blue Jackets. Mm-hmm. Do you know why? Yeah. The main reason is the location, Columbus. You don't like it, and you don't think it's cool as your Toronto is. So I tried to stick up for them and say they were going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, listen, I have nothing against Columbus. It's not on my radar is the point. It's got no national identity. That's not their fault. It's just a fact. I'm just
okay. I just think if Merzlikins can go in there and stop some pucks.
Yeah.
And Zach Rowensky healthy, playing 25 a night, and maybe Johnny Hockey plays like Johnny Hockey, and Kent Johnson steps up, and Patrick Laine doesn't skate around and look in the crowd with his sunglasses on, and starts playing like the legit 50 goal scoring threat that he can be. Maybe they have something.
Maybe
if those guys don't play, they have no shot.
Well, that Fantilli might be a player there too, right?
He's young, though. He's a kid. He's 18. I don't know if he'll make the team. I'm not sure if Babcock will even allow him to make the team. Like, that's another thing about what Columbus is bringing into the fold.
He might not make the team because he doesn't have kids.
Yeah, well, exactly. You got to have a
grown man. He's got kids. He really cares.
Right. I could see them sending him back. Although he's a college player, I guess he could play in the American League. But I don't know. I mean, he's a stud, that kid. Like, there's no question. That Fantilli kid, that's a big get for Columbus. For him to drop to them, that was a big get. But I'm not holding my breath that, he's going to put them over the top at 18. But that's a big part of what Babcock is there for, is to grow those kids. Kent Johnston, Fantilli, make sure the young guys grow. That was his responsibility here when Matthews and Marner and Nylander all showed up. That was on his watch. right? And I'm sure he'll be working under a similar circumstance in Columbus with those young guys.
Yeah, just with not as much of a light on him.
Not even close. I mean, not right? Even close.
So other than, there was a light shined on him yesterday, that'll go away. But, there is a situation where, if he has a good year and develops some of those young players, they got that Russian, the guy who scored 20 plus, Marchenko, I think his name is, he's a good player too. They have some guys there, but they were so banged up. I worry about the goaltender, Merzlikins. He's a really talented goaltender, but he hasn't found his groove there. They got another goalie there, Tarasov, who's going to be really, really good goalie. So they've got some pieces, but again, we always say this, who's coming out of the playoffs? Like there are some teams that will miss the playoffs that made it last year.
Turnover every single year.
I can't tell you who they are. You know what I mean?
It's a difficult practice every year. We do it. We just did it with the NFL, and then after 1 week, people are like revising their list. Right, and it's the same thing in the NHL. You look at it, and it's difficult to picture high-end teams that have consistently been in the playoffs taking their foot off the gas, but it happens every year, and it will continue to happen this year. And, I would look more at the Ottawas and the Buffaloes and the Pittsburghs that just missed. Like, I think it's more likely they take that step as opposed to someone that was at the bottom of the barrel. Yeah. But, you mentioned the goalies, and I was thinking about this today with, this NHL marketing campaign down in Vegas or whatever they're doing, the media
What a place
tour.
For that, by the way.
I know, it had to be.
I love how all these cool little things are like Vegas every time.
Right. We'll have the awards
every
Vegas.
Time.
Media tour Vegas. Board of Governors, we'll do Miami in the winter. It's always Miami or Vegas, maybe LA. But trying to put my finger on who would be the poster boy for Canadian goaltending right now. And I guess it's still Flower. I guess it's Marc-Andre Fleury. But I'm not sure, the average Canadian hockey fan even knows where he's playing right now.
You mean if, Canada put together a team to go play in the Olympics, you think Flower's their starting goalie?
Well, I don't even know about that. I'm just saying, when I think of, when I was a kid, it was Patrick Waugh, and then it was Marty Brodeur, and then it would be Cujo, Luongo, Price.
Eddie Belfour.
Yeah, there a media tour like this, it would be you got to get that guy there. He's the biggest goalie in the game because he's the best on best when it comes to Canada. I don't think we have that. I don't think we have a Canadian poster boy in net that even kids throughout the country would pretend to be if you were playing ball hockey this afternoon.
It would have to be like Jordan Binnington if he had a lights-out year and he could regain his form and be dialed in this year, where you're like, that guy's won a Stanley Cup and he's the best Canadian goaltender right now. After that, you're talking about a pretty thin list.
Exactly. That cup was 4 years ago. Binnington won 4 years ago.
Yeah, and he hasn't been able to win much or be very stable. Yeah, he's been very up and down. I think he's a good goalie, but he's certainly been inconsistent. You're right. There has to be a guy who cycles through. A Tristan Jarry. This Levi kid in Buffalo's going to be good. What's Stuart Skinner going to be at 24? And,
You're not making me feel good here, Noodles. You're not making
that's what I'm saying.
Good.
No, you are naming guys, Noodles. You are naming Canadian goalies that are pretty good, but if you were
but not
if you were an
superstar
opposition country looking at that list, you'd be like, wow, I like our goaltenders over that. If you look at the Russian goaltenders, it's not even
right.
It's
if you take it position by position right now, obviously you have McDavid. You'd still have Sid, who's a living legend. Now you got Bedard. You have three layers up front. You got right. But you got the grizzled vet and Sid, the prime time in McDavid, the kid in Bedard. You got Makar. You've got Pietrangelo still, who's a living legend, who's going to the Hall of Fame.
The rest of the ice is
everything else is all good.
Disgusting.
Everything else, there's powerhouse brands. I guess from a Canadian perspective, there is nothing close in that. Nothing close in net.
Thanks, Hazy. We got a Canadian goalie summit, and it's not even a hockey tournament.
But this is worthy.
This usually happens after the goalie stinks in the World Juniors, and now we're going to do it in September. The Canadian goalie summit.
I will debunk the argument because the kid that won the Stanley. No, it's just my light.
Debunk.
The kid who won the Stanley Cup last year was Canadian, Aiden Hill. And the argument is you don't need goaltending. You just need average goaltending to average or replacement level. That's the analytics term.
Right.
Replacement level, that's all you need.
Okay.
Well, Aiden Hill provided that. He's 27-year-old Canadian.
Yeah.
So you look at a Stanley Cup champion who's Canadian. There's your guy.
You're sleeping
Hill.
well at night if you're going into a best on best with Adin Hill. Do you think there's Canadian kids across the country buying Adin Hill jerseys saying that's my idol?
I don't know about this theory. Like obviously Vegas had a really quality team. They had a great defense core, but this idea of like just fire a guy in net that's capable, it scares the living hell out of me. Like I have no idea, and I don't know if Winnipeg maybe they weren't that eager, but if I had a quality team. I don't know who that like the New Jersey Devils. Like I don't know who's playing goalie for them. Is it going to be that kid Schmid? I'm looking at Connor Hellebuyck saying, "I'll take a flyer for this year," and I might have to give up the farm for 1 year. I don't know what the package would look like, but I'm thinking if I have a real quality team and I want to get a stud in net and give it a shot for 1 year, that's exactly the guy I'd be looking at.
You're 100% right. That would be the team I would link Hellebuyck to. Because they might be a top-tier goaltender or a stable goaltender away from doing something special. They're a good team. Now, we'll see. Again, like they still have to grow. But if I'm linking somebody, they do. You're right. Akira Schmid is a young kid. I think he's only like 23 years old. So can he carry the mail? Vanacek is there. They've got some guys, but not that top-tier goaltender that scares you. I think Hellebuyck, if I'm linking him to a team, I would link him to Jersey just based on – now, could they make it fit? Maybe you make it fit for a rental, but wouldn't you want to sign him long-term? What does that look like? 8 times 8 if you end up trading for him, 7 times 8 if he becomes unrestricted. I don't know what the term would be for him, but Hellebuyck would be the guy I circle.
Yeah, for sure. And there's an American, right? There's an American.
Yep.
Like the Americans have 3 or 4 studs.
Yeah, they do.
The
they
Russians,
do. Like Russia has a 3-pack as good as anybody in the league.
Yes,
with Vasilevsky, Sorokin, and Shesterkin.
Right.
Those are literally that's as good as anybody on the planet.
The modern day like Bois, Brodeur, Belfour. Like that's
exactly
what Canada used to have, where it was like the 3rd string goalie was like the 5th best goalie in the world.
Yep.
And now it's it's cyclical, but at this point, I'm calling for a summit. I'll lead the charge. We'll go to Vegas. All right? Canadian goalie summit in Vegas.
Well, you know what it is? Here's my argument against young goaltenders coming up. I've said this before. You get guys, a goaltender becomes a free agent, Jack Campbell. Okay, Jack Campbell signs a beautiful deal in Edmonton, has a great year in Toronto, signs a beautiful deal in Edmonton. Making $5 million a year. There are third liners that make $5 million. And like that position's still underpaid. But it's like, why would I? If I'm a parent, why am I putting my kid in net where you can play the law of averages? If you want him to make the NHL, he can be a winger and make $3 or $4 million or $5 million and not be a starting goaltender and get crapped on by everybody.
Yeah, there's a lot of validity
that would be the
in
argument.
That. Yeah, there is a lot of it. We got to get them paid. There's why we have a summit, Noodles. We got to get them paid so we can get kids playing again, and kids want to make money. Giannis wants to win. Giannis Antetokounmpo wants to win. He had a pretty wild quote on a podcast that's going viral. We'll tell you about that. A-Rod is a sneaky little devil. We'll tell you about that. Steve Phillips in about 20 minutes. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. All right, Steve Phillips in about 15 minutes. Jays Rangers Game 3 tonight. Role play level of concern at 5:30. Might be a level of concern in Milwaukee right now. Giannis was on the 48 Minutes podcast and was asked about his future in Milwaukee. Future in Milwaukee and, how we feeling and where's this going to go. And here's what Giannis had to say.
As long as we play and we approach the game every single day the right way and we all sacrifice for a common goal, I can see myself being in Milwaukee Bucks for the rest of my career. But the moment I feel like people are not committed as I am to get that golden pin in the back, I am not. I'm a Milwaukee Buck, but most importantly, I'm a winner. I want to win, and I have to do whatever it takes for me to win. And if there's a better situation for me to win the Larry O'Brien, I have to take that better situation.
That is a mic drop, man.
I know. It's like if you're just management or ownership, you're like, we've given you so much money. Do you really have to come out with that? Like, can you not like maybe sit down with ownership and management and say, guys, we really have to make sure that we put a quality product and give me a chance to win, or I might say no thanks. Like I just don't understand the idea of coming out with that. Like that's just a warning flare for everybody to be on edge, and it's just I don't know why the need to do that.
Well, he's directing it to the people you're talking about. I mean, that is to
I
management
get it, but
and
why
ownership.
can't that be just behind closed doors? It's just now the fan base is going to be like, I don't know, man. That's just 2023, though.
That's exactly what it is.
Yep, exactly. He's going to put his hand up. If they're not committed to winning, he's out of there. That's basically what he's saying.
The way in the NBA more than anywhere, that's what it is. Like, I'll sign a one-year deal, and if you don't prove to me you're good, I'm out.
Yeah, but you know what? Dame probably did it behind closed doors for years and said, you know what? I'm going to be loyal. I'll stay here. And then he's getting crapped on because he just finally said, that's enough. I'm out.
Exactly. That's the thing. Listen, Giannis is bigger than that team. That's the truth. Like, the Bucks have a long, rich history. Giannis is bigger than life in Milwaukee. And they need him. And he's telling them they better be on edge. Now, I don't know if that'll be helpful, but it's honest. And he's going on the record saying it, right? Yeah. Like, it's basically, I don't care who I play for. What I care about is I'm going to win. That's the modern-day NBA. Hour 2 coming up. Steve Phillips will join us. Role play level of concern. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.